Crysis 4 is finally coming. It has been a long time in the works and people have been asking so much for a new addition to this franchise. In fact, one of my favorite first-person shooter franchises. Crysis 3 came all the way back in 2012-2013 and it really blew up to a large level. Now, whilst it did have its criticisms in terms of storytelling, no one can deny the beauty and the actual game-changing evolution of the industry that Crysis 3 really brought. I mean, the Cry engine was known for being a PC destroyer and one of the most beautiful engines on the platform, or even on the planet at that. And Crysis 3 pushed it to the next level. Even now to this day, it is one of the best looking games on PC, especially playing it at ultra graphics at 4K. I've been going through it and I've been having so much fun. I remember even playing this back in the day, and that was an Xbox 360 and it looked fantastic then. You know, when you're younger, you don't really care about graphics, but I don't remember it looking bad. I was still immersed, even though it was probably playing in 720p at 30 FPS. Crysis 3 is still one of my favorite games of all time. But after almost 10 years since the last installment, it was kind of the question on everyone's mind. Would they be carrying on with this franchise? And then on the 26th of January 2022, this year, we got our announcement. Crytek released some strange and cryptic trailer. It didn't really show anything about the game itself, but was almost just its teasing announcement, showing us the general vibe is coming back. Of course, cascading buildings, destructive terrain, and Prophet's incredibly iconic nanosuit helmet there, showing that Crysis 4 is making a return. Along with this announcement trailer, Crytek released a forum post on their website saying, "To everyone in our amazing Crysis community, and to all fans of the franchise all around the world, we have a special announcement to make just for you. It's something you've been asking us for a long time, so now it's finally time to confirm, yes, the next Crysis game is happening." They go on to say that the game is still in its early versions and it's still very early stage in development, so it's going to be quite a while just yet. And since one, they've got such a big thing to live up to, and two, technology has come so far since their last games, it's going to be a while, I think. Maybe 3-4 years until we actually see Crysis 4 coming to our screens. As development progresses, we will release more details when we can. But in the meantime, know that our dedicated and talented team is working hard to bring you a truly next-gen shooter. And I believe it. Because Crysis doesn't just have a fantastic storyline, great characters and iconic technology, weaponry, you know, that bow and that camo suit. Oh, does it look great? But it also has a lot to live up to in terms of pushing technology to the next level. Crysis 1 and Crysis 2 went over being massive powerhouses of games. Crysis 3 took it another step, especially pushing things like the PS3 and the Xbox 360 to new graphical details never seen before. So Crysis 4 is going to have to do a similar thing. We now have the technology of DLSS, RTX. Are they going to be implementing that into the game, making the games look better and also run much better, as that's going to be a very important part of making this thing work, especially for the wider audience. But also, are they going to be able to separate themselves from the modern day gaming industry? You see, since 2013, the industry has changed so much. Now, size of studio isn't all that important, especially for getting graphical fidelity and good-looking games like Crysis and the series that came before. You can do that on a fairly shoestring budget. It just comes down to time, but the technology is now widely available. Even the Cry engine, which was so famed for being the engine that these games were being based on, is now available for anyone to use. You can even develop on it for free to start with, but I assume that they're using the latest version and hopefully developing new technology specifically for this game. More recently, we've had the remasters of the old Crysis games, and it went down pretty well. Ironically, it was around the time that the new graphics cards with Nvidia came out with the 3080 and the 3090. People were able to put it to the test. There were even some videos from big tech YouTubers like Linus Sebastian making videos about playing Crysis remastered in 8K. Yes, it was possible, just about. And it is mind-blowing to think what kind of technology could be used for this next installment. Going back and playing a lot of Crysis 3, I've really rekindled my love for this franchise. Even just playing the first few missions so far, I'm excited to carry on and get through to the end. I played it so long ago when it initially released, so it's kind of fuzzy in my mind, the actual storyline of this game. But there are some bits that keep coming in and out of recollection, and I'm very much excited to getting back to that point. The nanosuit is a fantastic addition to the franchise. It's always been so iconic, but in Crysis 3 it was used, in my opinion, to perfection. Yes, you do feel like an OP badass at the beginning when you're fighting normal soldiers, but when you start fighting aliens, they do put up a bit more of a fight. Being able to turn invisible, sneaking up on enemies and doing stealth attacks, being able to use your binoculars to scout out where people are, hacking minefields, hacking doors, and more importantly, hacking sentinel turrets that are able to take out enemies when you're not even in the vicinity. Then going on to fight aliens as the games get more and more mental. One thing I do kind of miss is the fact that the game is so old at this point, the multiplayer is pretty dead. I actually really enjoyed playing the multiplayer, and whilst I don't think it was the most conventionally and most beloved multiplayer of all time, as a 14-year-old kid back in the day, I used to play hours and hours when I got home from school on all the different maps, trying out all the weapons. Now, of course, when it comes to single player and weaponry, that bow is the most iconic. All the different attachments and all the different secret arrows that you can use, from explosive to electricity to high velocity, even changing the pressure that you put on the bow, affecting the reload time and of course the power that hits the enemy. But my favourite part of this game has to be the stealth. Even when not using the cloaking device on your nanosuit, just sneaking from one place to another. And it wasn't perfect, but it was still so much fun. I think Crysis 4 has got a lot to live up to, but I hope Crytek can do it. There is a beloved community behind this franchise, and whilst I'm not all that heavily invested in it, it was a game that I have so many fond memories of in Crysis 3. It really makes me want to go back, play the first two, because I know, especially the second, how beloved it was, how these were the building blocks to what we have today. And whilst Crysis 3 wasn't perhaps the best in the series, according to their biggest fan base, I still think as a trilogy, it has 3 very, very solid entries. But I guess we're going to find out in the future. I will bring many more updates when Crysis 4 gets some more information. But until then, I will see you in the next one.
Keep low and out of sight of the tower. I thought that would be fucking obvious. That's it. Recon what we have and let's move on to the next sector.
Nothing here.